you had the opportunity to coach the team that had to play against Peyton Manning when he was coming back to Indianapolis to play against the Colts. There was a statue already being constructed of this man outside of the building. There was fans wearing Denver Bronco Manning's jerseys who were Colts fans allegedly, and you had to coach a team with Andrew Luck. I got a chance to be there. Now with Tom going back to New England, obviously it's a different situation with two GOATs, but that is still a monumental moment. Where is there pressures in that game? Do you know it's a different game? Like Bill and Tom, everybody, and Bruce and everybody, they know this is different, right? And you have to, even though publicly people will say differently?
No, absolutely. Are you kidding me? 20 years in New England, Peyton 14 in Indy. They're going to say all the players speak, all the coach talk. Blinders are on. I'm in the moment. I've got plenty of time to reminisce, but this is about this game. This is the biggest game because this is the next game, which is all BS. They're trying to convince themselves as much as they are Joe Public and Joe Fan. But, Peyton coming back there in 2013, undefeated Broncos team. I mean, everybody said he's done. Well, there's one person, Peyton, that said, no, I'm not done. And I've got something to prove. And I'm going back to Lucas Oil Stadium, going back to the city where I spent 14 years, where I brought a Lombardi trophy. And yeah, there's pressure. There's going to be there's no emotion. I'm going to block all that shit out. But, when we put that tribute up, to Peyton, during warm-ups, it's a 3-4 minute tribute, and you're going to try to be stoic, and this, that, and the other. You can't help but, hey, you're going to pat your heart, blow kisses, fans and all that. And that's a big deal. That's a distraction. That it's hard not to go back and say, okay, yeah, I just spent 14 years here, leading this organization, more wins than anybody else, through a 7-year span. And then we, screw with him even more, 90 minutes before kickoff, he walks in there, the window's closed, the roof's shut, right? And next thing you know is, and the roof starts opening up and the window opens up. And he's throwing those passes. He's got that big long neck and that helmet, that size 10 helmet on.
Yeah.
He's throwing those. And we're getting in his head. And he said, holy shit. And he probably thought, yeah, maybe Mr. Irsay will open it. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll do me a favor. Nope, no favors. Because, he's got one thing on his mind. Tom's got one thing on his mind. Tom won a Super Bowl last year, right? Going to another team, first year, this, that, and the other. Was it Belichick, who got Brady in the Hall of Fame? Is it Brady who's going to get Belichick eventually in the Hall of Fame? The GOAT versus the GOAT? This is bigger to Tom than the Super Bowl. He wants to go in there and kick that man's ass just as much as Belichick wants to beat the shit out of Brady and the Buccaneers. But as we know, it's a team deal and all that stuff. And when the ball's kicked off, it'll get down to 60 minutes of football.
Blinders on, play-by-play, be where your feet are. As soon as that ball's kicked off. Yeah.
I love it. I love hearing it straight from Chuck, too. I've been hearing it from Pat for so long. It feels good to hear it from you, Coach. But you mentioned Belichick. And I've heard, we know, it looks like, hey, none of this outside stuff ever affects him. He doesn't care about any of it. I mean, he is a human. How much do you think he's thought about this game? And is it going to change anything? And do you think he can do anything defensively to try to mess with Tom?
Well, if anybody can, Bill can. Obviously, Tom knows Bill inside and out, and vice versa. I heard somebody on, TV this morning call him an android. Bill's a great football coach, probably going to go down as the greatest of all time. The guy is a human being, and I think he does maybe do a little fishing, here and there, or maybe go on a date, with his girlfriend, but, because all you see is the flat line, all business. You walk in the building, you got 2 signs up: do your job, ignore the noise, and if you can't do either of those 2 things, you're out. So yeah, Bill's he's gonna devise a game plan to try to mess, with Tom, but Tom's seen it all.
Hey, what is
he's going to go to the line of scrimmage.
Hey, Chuck, what is something like that you think he would be able to know because he's at practice with Tom for 14 years? Is it like a pressure that he'll potentially bring? Is it a coverage that they'll disguise? Like, what is something you think that Bill, as this defensive coach, and you being a defensive coach, what is something you can learn from watching somebody in practice in every single step of their life? You can just pick apart everything, basically, that you don't like and put it in? Is that something you can do?
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, he knows what his Achilles heel is better than anybody else, and so he'll go back through all of his stuff and a lot of the practice stuff and the people that affected him, and he's going to have 2 or 3 things that he knows that can mess with Tom, and whether that's a pressure, a different personnel package, moving guys around, get that amoeba defense going on third down, get everybody walking around, whatever that is. Bill knows, what Tom's kryptonite is. He's going to know exactly, what buttons to try to push, what coverages to play, what fronts to play. But the problem is, you got a Bucs team. It's not just the quarterback, Yeah. And you got a Bucs team that's loaded with so many talents. You got to decide, okay, he knows Gronk too, but I don't give a damn how well you know Gronk. Who the frick's going to cover him? Who's going to stop him?
Yeah.
And then Godwin and Evans and Brown and the runners. I mean, their best deal against Tommy is to keep him on the bench.
Yeah.
To me, is they better get the ball out of Mac's hands, short, quick pass game, hand the ball off, chew up the clock, win the time of possession, don't turn the damn ball over, and keep him on the sideline and on the bench where he gets most frustrated.
Yeah, and he was able. They happened last week, but they got Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and I mean that defense is loaded. But so are the Patriots. Patriots defense is always going to be good. It's always going to be. I mean, there's a Patriots fan in the building. Connor, Chuck. He is going through it right now. I mean, he is in a bad spot, Chuck. It's a tough go. But can we stay on the topic of that game because the coaches at Tampa a lot, very well. As do I. I know a lot of the guys. Even more obviously, including like Todd Bowles, who just got. Richard Sherman in the secondary today, which is congrats to him. But I think they all know that this is a big fucking game too, right? For Tom, isn't that something that I think they might rally around? Because there's a lot of scars in that coaching staff up in Foxborough. There's a lot of those scars that they've had up there in Foxborough. Have you heard or got a sense of how they feel toward this? And are they using it as hey, this game is going to be a big deal for Tom at all? Or are they trying to not talk about that, you think?
They're not talking about it.
Yeah.
It's in there. It's in back of everybody's mind. It's the big elephant in the room, right? It's sitting there. We all know what it is, and nobody's talking about it.